Hi, Kim. I've been having a hard time trying to make some videos lately because I feel like I have nothing to say. So I'm going to read a blog post that I did recently on my blog. So in my English class, we did our third essay on the integration of the shadow self. And it's something I've been thinking about for quite a while because it's one of the subjects I've actually been talking about or researching in the past year and a half or whatever. I've been researching stuff on like psychology and stuff like that, and the shadow self, the parts of you you don't openly admit or act on in public. I know that the certain sides of me, like my anger especially, are now completely normal, albeit sucky to endure, in the sense that everyone gets angry and everyone gets mad. We all have this side to ourselves that we choose not to act on because to do this would mostly be frowned upon in the general public eye. I know that I'm not a bad person, but I can be bad. I have the capacity to be good or evil, but I also know now more than ever that I'm more of a good person because of how much I fear becoming a bad person. One of my worst fears is becoming a bad person. I'm not going to say losing someone I love because that I believe is a default answer. Of course I fear losing someone I love. Everyone does. It's natural. So with that said, I will say that me finally losing myself to my anger, finally reaching that breaking point and throwing everything away and succumbing to my negative, dark side it's got to be one of my worst fears. The karma that would come to my ass. I barely survived the last time I broke. I feel like I've had the absolute smallest taste of evil and what it can be like, barely a fraction of what it is, and even that almost destroyed me. So basically, I've tasted it and clearly decided that I don't like that shit, so I'm going to go where the good is. I thought you could make friends with monsters in order to get over your fear of them or to not have them attack you in any way. And you actually can, if you don't mind parts of them rubbing off on you. You can't roll around with the pigs and not get dirty. I feel like my experiences with such negative, sick, twisted, and fake people awakened my shadow or made my shadow known to me, and I now feel like I don't know how to properly integrate it, or maybe how to calm it more importantly, because I do believe my shadow is fucking pissed. Maybe my shadow has been dormant my entire life, and since it's awoken and has seen what has been done to me, it's become angry and fiercely protective of me. It's angry at all the injustice I've endured. If I can put it in a more visual way, I describe it as if I have an obscurus inside me, and when I get triggered or angered, it starts leaking out of me. And I feel like it's really hard to contain, like a boiling pot of water, and shit's leaking out, dude. I had watched a YouTube video about the Obscurus and left a comment saying that I felt the Obscurus was a great representation of the suppression of the shadow, and when not properly integrated, can have monstrous and devastating consequences when you deny its existence within yourself. I've seen the movie Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them for the first time in theaters, and the second time I saw it, my reaction to it was drastically different. I had gone through a type of abuse which is called narcissistic abuse, and that's a whole different video entirely. So basically I went through something called a finale, and well, it was just this huge climactic event in my life that kind of made me have to come to terms with and face all of the things that I was denying about other people that I really loved, and it turns out they were actually extremely toxic and not good for me. So after seeing the movie a few months later after that event had happened, I remember watching it in bed and having a serious emotional breakdown. It was a scene where we finally see the reveal of, spoilers, Credence as the Obscurial and what happens when he's finally pushed to his breaking point. It devastated me and tore me up so badly I can't actually remember how long I cried. I was absolutely in hysterics, and I felt like I was watching myself. I couldn't give a more accurate visual representation about how I felt the night I finally reached my breaking point at this bar. The anger in me had been built up in me for so many years, and it truly felt like an explosion of power that tried to destroy everyone around me, no matter who it was. I was so angry at the people who called me friend, actually not caring that I was in pain, that I finally stopped giving a shit about how they felt and tried to teach them what it feels like. It was a power so strong that I absolutely felt would have almost killed me had someone attacked me back. It was so strange because thankfully both my parents were surprisingly very, very gentle and understanding. They even dropped the idea that maybe something like this, and as dangerous as it could have been, it might have needed to happen in order for me to finally and truly realize what I was dealing with in being around these kinds of people and the things that I was doing. Partying, drinking, and driving, hanging out with people who used and abused me and took advantage of my kind nature. I fucked up, but I have thankfully taken proper measures in order to never put myself in a position for these kinds of things to happen again. I just wish I had seen everything sooner and had reacted much, much differently. I wish I was strong enough to walk away before things finally got to me. One of the best quotes in Harry Potter is that it takes a great deal of courage to stand up to your enemies, but a great deal more to stand up to your friends. And I just wish I knew how to do that earlier. 2 years sober as of April 1st this year, and staying the fuck away from things and people who fooled me into loving them, who I wasted my time and attention on. I've been in therapy for a year now as well, and I'm 10 times better than how I was 2 years ago. I'm definitely not where I want to be yet. I'm not where I want to be yet, but life is so much better than it was when I was around those toxic people in my life. I'm still angry, but my emotional roller coaster isn't nearly as wild as it was then. Seeing various people off and on since my finale that I knew from that life, and having every person talk to me with sincere kindness and gentleness, has lifted this heart-wrenching weight off of my shoulders. I was literally so paranoid of possible backlash from people who might have wanted to get back at me that I couldn't walk down the street without feeling like someone was going to come up behind me and knife me or try to jump me. It didn't help knowing that I had partied and bumped elbows with people like Hell's Angels or other dangerous people, knowing that one of the very people I'd loved most actually might be the kind of person to persuade someone else to hurt me through these dangerous people. The fact that there have been people also who have been stabbed to death and murdered down in that very area. One time someone had been stabbed to death outside of my family's shop. That didn't help either as well. That paranoia is still there. It's still there, but it's very, very faint now. I had pure paranoia and fear for around an entire year, and I don't think anyone I keep close truly knows the extent of traumatizing stuff that I actually went through. All the kind and loving vibes that I've gotten from every person I've ran into has alleviated so much sadness from my body, heart, soul, and in my mind especially. I feel like I'm able to finally move on much better nowadays, and I feel like I was on a treadmill for the longest time. Even though things are still going slow and are not going to change, they're not going to change overnight. I feel like I finally stepped off that treadmill and am actually getting somewhere, and I have hope of speeding things up. And just recently, I've actually kind of realized that there's that whole new year, new me thing. This is my year, blah, 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 whatever. And I feel like this year as I'm still kind of struggling emotionally, but despite that kind of stuff, I realized that this year so far has actually been going upwards. And that's actually hugely motivating. Starting with just last week, I had actually quit my job of over 2 years. And there was some other stuff going on with that made me really want to get a different job. I started a new job this Thursday, and even though it might not work out, it doesn't guarantee me the job or whatever, I'm just glad to be out of where I was. I have a lot of ideas on stuff that I want to do, and things have actually slowly been getting better finally. I still have what are called emotional flashbacks, and that's another whole story. But when it comes down to it, I do feel like things are actually finally happening and things are actually getting better. And there are things in my life that I realized, of course, there's never going to be a good time. There's never going to be a right time to start doing something like starting my own business. I've been really wanting to do that for a couple years. And now I definitely have a plan of action that I'm like right there. I'm like right there. I just need to do it. But other things I've actually been doing pretty well. I am not on any social media anymore, which is fantastic. I started a merchandise shop on a place called Society 6. It's where artists can upload their artwork and have it printed out on different types of products that you can buy and purchase. And I've bought like 3 things from my store already, so it's really cool. And it's one of my other avenues in which I can get my photography out, because I love photography as well. So that's definitely a start as far as like a personal business goes. But there's actually another thing that I like to do that I plan on doing soon. I just need to like get the official plan together and then buy the stuff I need. So yeah, I was at a job for 2.5 years that, as to this day, I still think the job itself was a really great job. There was just certain things that after working there for like 2.5 years now, I realized that, this isn't something I need to be doing anymore. And I've definitely grown and I need to get the fuck out. And I did. So, and then there was the subject of dealing with a coworker, someone I had worked with, who unfortunately was a huge hindrance in my healing process. Unfortunately, I had this coworker start there, and this person's been there for a year now or whatever, but ever since they started working there, my healing process has been hindered to the point where like they were a bird pecking at an open wound that was keeping it from closing. But now I'm finally broken free from that kind of like place. I don't want to call it a hell, but it was a job where I was working at it for over 2 years, and it felt like a completely different world, because it was a job where I had worked at a store, and I was required to work there at all kinds of different times. Like one day I'd go in at like 5 a.m. for a couple hours, and then the next I'd be asked to go in at 1 a.m. for like 8 hours and stuff. Basically, I was in this building for hours at a time with either my shitty fucking thoughts to occupy my head, or a hostile kind of bully that I was literally trapped in the store with majority of the time, because I was the first of the 3 employees hired for that store since it actually was built. So I got most of the hours on my team. I was the only one there who's been there from the very beginning of the store, which was great. But after being trapped in a dark, artificially lit place for hours at a time for a majority of the week at a different schedule that changed every single week, it was seriously getting to me, where my not only physical health but my mental health was completely out of whack. But there were times where it towards the end, the last couple months or whatever, that I had been there, and I remember thinking before school started, which was like another huge thing that I'm really happy about right now, is that I would have to work from like 3 a.m. to 8 or 9 or something. And after, during those times where I would have to work, I remember in the last couple months feeling like there was absolutely no hope in the world, and there was no point to anything, not life, not even death. I had no hope. And I remember walking around here on campus, and I remember just, it's sunny and beautiful and bright, and it's like hope had flooded into my world again, and there was a not just hope for a future, but like a better future for my own life. It's like tons of different avenues and doors had been opened for me, and I just felt like I had hope again for something good. And school here has been really, really fun, but unfortunately, another reason why I left my job was because obviously I had to adjust my availability, and for the second time they had been scheduling me on days where I couldn't work and stuff, and they would go beyond my availability, and it was getting to be a problem because I didn't want to sacrifice any more time for my classes like I did the last time I'd come to school. So, and when it comes down to it, school is going to help me for the long run. You know, that's just a job. This could help me find an actual career. And ever since I had decided to come back to school, Miracosta, home of the Spartans, irony, I feel like things, they're just gonna get better because I'm focusing on things that could really help me in the long run and actually like help me figure out what I want to do with my life as well. And I think that's definitely not something I want to sacrifice any more of my own time and attention and fucking sanity. I don't want to risk jeopardizing my potential for the future and the avenue that I'm taking for a job. Because I know that when it comes down to it, this is going to help in the long run. And I'm just really excited. It's a really ugly day out right now, but it's, you know, sun's still shining. And when I was working at that job, I felt like I was in two different worlds. This dark, artificially lit place, and out here where I'm learning, I'm actually being around people, even though I'm actually a little timid about being around people right now in general because I've had bad experiences. But I just find being here and being on this campus and learning about things that genuinely fascinate me really inspiring. And not only that, but I feel like I've gotten a hell of a lot better, and I'm a hell of a lot more inspired, as well as when I think about the type of things that I've been researching and the information I've been intaking and stuff. But now I'm just like, I've been intaking so much information that I've kind of forgotten to actually like output or produce stuff. So I'm like kind of addicted to YouTube. So now I'm just like, okay, you need to like get your shit together and actually do something with all the information you've accumulated, because there's never going to be a right time to, like, I feel like I've been waiting for me to find the right time, and I'm just like, you know, that's not going to happen. You're not going to find the right time. You just got to get off your ass and do it. So, yeah. I'm going to try and do more blogs and stuff too, because I hear that this could be used as a form of like talk therapy, which sounds great. I've also been writing a lot more this year than I've ever done in my life, which is fantastic. Kind of really fascinated with essay writing, and I decided that I'm going to go for some kind of like English literary degree or whatever. So I'm really fascinated and excited about that, and going to be doing more writing, more blogs and stuff, and hopefully I'll do more videos as well. Just talk. Oh my god, it's fucking hot in here. But yeah, if anyone wants to read my blog posts and stuff, I have a Wix blog, and I'll post a link in the description. So yeah. As cheesy as it sounds, I feel like this is going to be my year, and I am really excited, and it's just really inspiring, especially to be out in the sunlight a lot more now. Hopefully I'll be able to start getting my sleep schedule under control. I don't have to wake up earlier than I think 7 at all now. So this is really great. So I'm excited. But yeah, thank you so much for watching if you stayed to the very end of the video. And hopefully I'll see you in the next video. So thank you. Kim out, yo.